Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Podcast. I'm host Giancarlo Navas, and with me today, return to the program. It's been a while. Brady Hawk of 5ReasonsSports, 5 on the floor. He's on the beat at the arena, covering the team day to day. Brady, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making the time for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. Last time I was on here, I feel like we were probably talking about this team in a little bit of a different light, or offensively at least. So at least they're a little more fun to watch right now.
I really love your Norman Powell hat.
Okay.
For the pod audience, audio only, it just says GOAT.
That's not a crazy take. I mean, that's a great description of what we've been seeing.
And I think that kind of segues really nicely into what we're going to talk about today. So Brady's here we're going to break down the offense. I mean, we have been, I'm going to say, held hostage to a subpar offense the last few years. It was Dan Levitard often refers to bad offenses as cesarean section offenses. And that's how it feels. It's very bloody. It's not very pleasant. It's sometimes necessary. And this year it's been different. Erik Spoelstra has brought in some outside help. They are running this new pick and roll list, screenless, DHO less offense. And Brady, I guess I want to start with Erik a little bit before we kind of get into the stats and all that. I just want to give him so much credit because when Jimmy gets here, they are running right before Jimmy gets here, really into Jimmy's first year. They're running this DHO heavy offense because they realize they don't have ball handlers that can get to the rim. They don't have guys that can break down the defense with pick and roll. So what they do is they really leverage their motion shooting, their big guys who are really good passers, Olynyk, Bam, into this really free-flowing movement relocation offense. After a few years, that kind of stales. Teams are switching that more. They're more wise to it. There's a lot of different ways to defend that. Miami shooters just aren't shooting as good. They go to a real pick and roll heavy offense. Lowry gets here. They recognize, okay, we have a real pick and roll guard, at least for the first year they did. Jimmy's here. Tyler is a good pick and roll player. They run that. And they've tried so many different things throughout the years, Brady, which leads us to yet another incarnation of a Heat offense that is pick and roll less. It's movement based, cuts, this and that. I just want to give, and I want your thoughts on this. Like, I don't think Erik Spoelstra gets enough credit for how malleable he is. A lot of coaches have their system, but he tries to find what works for the guys he has.
Good coaches can sometimes be in a position where they don't want change. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, their system is their system. And Erik Spoelstra came into the season and scrapped his entire offensive playbook. Like, he threw it all in the garbage and started from scratch. And this is where they kind of came together. So it's interesting just because you're talking about kind of the early system, and it was literally all, as you said, big man passing, but it was all off-ball motion. It was like literally off-ball screening, back cuts, all that type of stuff. Not really manipulating switches, but like there's just so much switches happening, so it's just organically happening. And then now you kind of enter the current day where it's just, I never thought a Miami Heat Erik Spoelstra offense, or at least this version of this team, be an isolation team. I just never could have imagined that. But that's what the base is. It's literally all isolation. It's literally every possession begins with one of their handlers, one of their primary ball guys, just going one-on-one, putting a guy on his heels, getting into the paint, trying to see who collapses and what you can make a play out of. And it's funny because it's like, it's just so free-flowing. I think that's the best word to call it, is just it's free-flowing because whoever has the ball, I mean, we've seen possessions where, okay, if Davion's the guy on the wing, he could be the guy that just isolates and attacks, then shoots a floater or a mid-range. Like, it can be so many different guys. And I thought, it was funny because I thought Powell and Bam honestly did a good job of describing it when they went on the show on Amazon Prime, where they kind of went through, because that's kind of the base of it all. It's just, you just have to constantly fill the other person's gap. So when the other person goes in, and if nothing's there and they kick, you just fill that other gap, and then the next guy is going to isolate and attack and try to get into the paint and make a play. So they figured out the half-court element of this. I thought, as you said, the screening just got so stale. I mean, because the issue with the screening part of it and the constant pick-and-roll basketball was there was one guy on this team that was a pick-and-roll player. So they knew how to guard it. It wasn't like there's these other teams can run so much pick and roll, because of the fact that they have so many different guys that can create off the dribble out of a ball screen. But Miami didn't really have that at this stage. They realized that, honestly, which I didn't really depict in the offseason, that there was so many isolation guys. But when you kind of look at it now, it's like, kind of makes sense. I mean, Jaime is that type of guy. Davion is that type of guy. You could go down. Powell can obviously do it off the dribble, as we've seen. He can kind of find range. So it's been a fun version of this offense, but I think the best word to describe it is honestly simplified. I think they just simplified things where these last couple of years, it felt like they were just it was Spo trying to add on to what was already there, like what was already in place, the system. And it's okay, we can add this in, this little counter to the offense. But like the base was always the base, and teams could figure that out and kind of. So now it's just scrapped. It's completely new, and it's fun to watch.
I don't think he'll get the award this year, and we've already started our Spoach of the Year campaign here on Heat Beat. He needs it, man. He deserves it. Like everybody says, he's the best coach in the NBA. Any studio show, it's like, oh, Eric Spoelstra, one of the best coaches in the NBA, the best coach in the NBA. Blah 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 blah. I need hardware, damn it. I need that man to have the trophy that he deserves. I don't care. I don't care if they're the 7th seed. He needs it, bro. He needs it. We need to push this. You got to tell Ethan, get the guys 5 on the floor. You, Leif, Ethan.
If there was a year, it's this year, right? I mean, if there was a year, it's this year where there's no expectations coming in. If he is, you say 7 seed, I think it's tough to be a playing team and be coach of the year. So I get if they're gonna bypass expectations, they have to be a top 6 seed. And it's rough to say, but I think there is a personal narrative around him that honestly, like battling adversity as a head coach and finding a way to win, even with all things going on. It's like there's a real case to be made that this guy could be coach of the year if they do find a way to be the top 6 seed.
OKC's coach, Mark, he's obviously like a contender, and
it's a best record award, right? Like,
yeah, it's a best team. It's a best team award. And I don't know. I mean, like the Thunder might win 70 games, and they look really good, dude. So I don't know. We got to hope. We got to hope for some magic. But listen, and Brady, I thought you kind of talked about it nicely. So they've instituted this new offense that is screenless, and I think we've all, for the audience that isn't so keen to that, they've really went from a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of screens, a lot of dribble handoffs into a lot of isolation basketball. So it's a lot of one-on-one, win your drive and kick, win your drive and kick. And they operate with a lot of cutters on the baseline. So if somebody's on the short corner, that guy's gonna cut from the corner to the weak side corner, and then somebody new is gonna fill that short corner. And it's kind of like a little whirlpool, right? There's like a motion
wheel
to it. Yeah, you know what I mean? There's this motion to it. And that's been really successful for them. And so Miami this year, we're 7-5. We're recording on Thursday, November 13th, following their loss to Cleveland. One of the second matchup that they played this year. They're 7-5. They're 15th in offense with 115.7 offensive rating. They are 9th in defense, which our exposure teams, Pat Riley teams, always going to compete on defense. They're 11th in net rating, which is pretty good. And they're 1st in pace, which I think is the big kind of one of the biggest changes other than the new system is how quickly they're playing, Brady. So 15th in offense is a little maybe underwhelming statistically. I don't think so. And we're going to get into some of that, but it's felt better than it's looked. They've missed guys. Obviously, Hero is a huge element of this, and we don't have to get into that conversation, but certainly Bam has missed some time. They're missing guys. And I certainly think if they're 15th to 13th in offense, I take that as a win. They don't have elite level talent right now on offense. Norman Powell may be an all-star, may not be an all-star. I don't know, but certainly given what they have on the roster, I think 15 to 13, given what they have, is just a win, dude.
15th to 13th is top 5, top 10 in Miami Heat world. Like they're not getting higher than that. Like that is their ceiling. Like they've been, as you know, amazing offensively. They've looked great shooting wise. They're putting up 130 points. They have 90 points through 3 quarters. It feels like most of the time. But with that said, they just do have a limit just because of. I mean, look, the offense kind of outweighs the defense has still been performing at times. I mean, there's been the flashes of pure defense. We could talk about the rebounding. We could talk about some of the extra stuff, but like defensively, they've been good. And that's why you see they have a top defense. That's why the net rating is still kind of hovering top 10. But 15 to me is like that. Like 10 is 1 to me. And then you work off that. Like
dude,
that is
watchable.
that's all you need. And look, we're talking so much about the half court offense because that was ultimately always the problem. I mean, if you're scrapping a new offense, the half court offense is the thing. But the whole thing around this revamped offense was transition. It was to kind of operate through their youth, through their kind of some of their faster, more athletic players, work off forcing turnovers, which I think feeds into the defense thing. They're forcing turnovers, and when they do, it's a constant run. It's just a wheel of just keep going. Whoever catches can run. It doesn't have to be, okay, find my point guard, unless you're somebody like Kalel is going to find the nearest ball handler. But other than that, you're going to grab the ball and go, and the transition stuff has worked. So that's just how I feel like they've just kind of clawed their way to 15th. And I don't even want to say clawed because I feel like they've done it pretty smoothly. Like, it doesn't feel like they've had to claw most nights. And the shooting part of it is interesting just because my expectations coming into the season without Tyler was I didn't think this team was going to be able to shoot the ball. Like, I didn't think three-point shooting wise, I didn't see it. Like, I thought Fontecchio would sub in into the rotation. He'd be one of their few, good shooters. I thought, Nico and Wiggins are capable. Powell would be their one elite shooter, but they've gotten it from everywhere. I mean, down the line, they have had decent to above average shooting, which just helps. I mean, we're talking about isolation basketball. You mentioned it. Drive and kick is the best word to describe this. It's like the isolation is just tip of the iceberg. Like, it's like, yeah, if you have a layup off the isolation, which you're probably not going to have most of the time unless Jaime is just creating nonsense and somehow finds a way most of these games. The whole game plan is to work that drive and kick game. And it's one thing to create open threes. It's another thing to make them. And they've done that this season. Like, I mean, they're making their off-the-catch threes from the guys from Drew Smith to Davion Mitchell to all the way down the line to Bam before he got injured was shooting at an insanely high clip. So, yeah, I'll keep saying it. It's fun to watch, but it's just simplified where it's not like, okay, and I'll say this too, that it felt like so much of the other seasons was like all their threes was late clock. Like, it's just like a late clock heave. It's a handoff into a screen to a double that you're shooting over the top of. That hasn't been the case this year. It's all early clock. Like, you can't be mad at a guy like Jaime even, like, or he'll get the ball in an inbound and end up scoring at the basket with 17 seconds left in the shot clock. Like, that's what this is built for. It's built to just go quick. So that feeds into the offensive rating as well. I mean, they've been in a position where the shot attempt number hasn't been extremely high compared to other teams. Like, this is a position now where it's like, okay, well, if we shoot early in the clock, we can ultimately get more shot attempts in the 48-minute game, and that could just lead to more points scored. And I feel like that's kind of the formula they're looking at.
About their threes, by the way. So they're 8th in percent this year. They're shooting 38% as a team. However, they're 22nd. I'm sorry, they're 8th in percentage, 22nd in attempts, right? Which I think that's kind of the big kind of thing where they're not getting enough. They're not getting up enough threes, and I think that's partly contributing to why their offense is not maybe a little bit better. And we'll get into some of those other factors later. Last year they were 12th in most threes. However, they were 11th in percentage. And they don't even have Tyler yet, as you said. And Norm's on the ball a lot, right? So that's the other thing that they'll have an extra shooter that'll be off ball, right? Because and I thought kind of going into the year, everything that you thought about their shooting, but I also thought, okay, well, Norman Powell's going to be on the ball a lot. Tyler's going to be on the ball a lot. Like, that doesn't, shooting off the dribble is a little different than off the catch and off those cuts and everything. And I just think it's good. And I think that the right guys are shooting. And this is something we've hammered on our post games a lot, Brady, where like Jaquez is not like, he had 4 threes last night. He went 0 for 4. That's not his game. And most nights he's 1 for 2, 0 for 2. That's a great spot for him to be in. I don't think he should be forcing threes. And I felt like last year he was taking a lot more spot up threes because he was doing more stuff, like he wasn't
standing in the corner.
Exactly, right? And I thought their offense last year had less movement than this one. Here, he's on the ball, he's driving, he's kicking, he's not taking that pass. And if he does catch the ball on their perimeter, it's drive and go, right? It's catch and go, right? Catch, go to score, catch, go to pass. His playmaking has been really lights out this season too. So I've liked that, but I do think that they need to find more attempts from 3. And I think that's one of the things that teams are doing to defend them pretty well, right? It's okay. Well, we're packing the paint, and they do search for 3. They do search for the drive, and they do give up some open threes off those swings. Obviously, Davion, not the greatest shooter. He's shot well for the club, but I don't think you want him on a high volume. And I think all these guys, I think defenses know that these guys don't want to shoot on a high volume, but I think they need to start dipping their toes in to get those attempts up, because that's how you make the offense better.
And I mean,
Even better.
Teams are building the counters now. You're already seeing in this past game where, as you're saying, they're not only packing the paint, but they're finding certain matchups where they know a certain guy like Jaime wants to attack off the dribble and get to the basket. So we're going to put a center on you, and we're going to have him parked at the free throw line, daring you to shoot,
Dude,
which
yes.
he got talked into 4 times, you said, and I think all 4 were actually in the first half, where he was like, okay, well, I have to shoot it. I mean, I can't. Jared Allen's all the way back there. I'm not going to get a good shot down there, so I'm going to take the shot. And that's like, yeah, the defense is winning there. I thought that was a good scouting and report adjustment from them. But the thing is, there's other adjustments from that where it's like, okay, well, if they're doing that, well, somebody else has a mismatch. Like there's obviously if you're running Nico at the 5, maybe you don't. But when Bam is back and you run real lineups again, it's like, okay, well, teams can't really do that because we have somebody else that could take advantage. Or if it's like, okay, there's this defender on the opposite side of the floor and Norman Powell's being on the ball over there, give the ball to him, go off to the corner and clear out Jared Allen, and then he can go to work. So like those are the counters I guess you could build to that. But yeah, you definitely want the right threes. I mean, Tyler being back, I mean, you said it before, like we're not going to discuss how that's going to work.
That's a can of Pandora's worms that
it's not going to work. Yeah, like it's literally, that's for another time. But with that said, when Tyler is back and you're able to do that, it feels like you actually have your off-ball shooters as off-ball shooters, where if like I'm imagining even like you cannot guard Jaime the way you want to guard him if you have Tyler and Norm on the opposite wings.
Brady,
like,
I think also like you can screen a little bit, right? And that's a situation where you can bring a guard to screen there and they will switch, right? And if they drop, that shooter now springs to they fly out to the wing, and then you have your normal kind of rotation. Okay, one guy cuts baseline, one guy cuts to the new corner. So you can like screen a little bit and you 100%. Can do it that way. Yeah.
That's the counter to the counter. I was saying this yesterday. Like it's not like you have to run pick and rolls just because they adjusted, but like this is I know I keep bringing up Jaime, but like he's kind of the focal point of a lot of their offense right now that they're running it into. But it's like it's tough because
beneficiary, I would say. I don't.
Oh, he's definitely been.
The good thing is that I don't think that they run offense through anybody, right? It's just like he's just the best guy at doing it right now. But yeah.
I mean, because also if he's on the court and he's not getting the ball put in his hands, it'll look like last year. Because if he's standing off the ball in the corner and that's kind of what you're getting at, which I thought that's why people didn't think he'd be able to do what he's doing this year. Because it's like, okay, well, if you have Tyler, Norm, Bam, and Wiggins, you're not going to be able to just throw the ball into Jaime's hands and put everybody else off the ball. But they have, and it's worked because they've kind of put everybody in a position. But what I was going to say was Jaime's like, he's always has this ability where whoever's in front of him, he just attacks. Like he just goes. It's the one thing where we used to talk about him and Jimmy being alike in certain areas. It was the one thing where like Jimmy would find a mismatch. He would look at the court. Yeah. He would get the screen from that guy. He would get the guy on his back and he would go to work. Jaime doesn't. And credit to him. I mean, he thinks he can go at anybody and score on anybody, but I think that's going to run out of steam a little bit. Like where he's going to have to do some mismatch hunting. So with what you were saying, it's like not running a pick and roll, but have the weaker defender get put into action, make Jared Allen have to fight over a screen. And if he gives up the switch, then now Jaime could go to work on the weaker defender. Like those are the small counters that they're going to have to make.
Dude, and the thing with that is like, I think one of the problems like with their offense the last few years is they did try to mismatch hunt a lot. And that takes time. That really lowers your pace because now when they mismatch hunt, the ball's moving. So if it's Jaquez and Davion and insert other ball handler on the perimeter, whoever the team is hiding their worst defender on, they will swing the ball to find that, as opposed to, the last few years when Butler's here. And this is more like a power wing offense, LeBron, Jimmy, Kawhi, whatever. You do want to bring that guy in a pick and roll because they are going to switch that. And when you do switch that, now everybody's in rotation. Big's not on you. You have a small guy on you. You're going to get fouled. You're going to get to the line, all that stuff. But that does take time, right? Like that's eating time of clock for like guard to come screen, teams switch, blah, 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 all that stuff. Where now it's like boom, 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 fast, which is beneficial to them. I think other teams aren't as fit as Miami, which is why I think Miami typically has had good second halves. Obviously, this was not the best example coming off of what happened in against Cleveland last night, but I kind of think that's the case. And in terms of Jaquez, by the way, chat is really upset at 5 Reasons about the pronunciation of Jaime Jaquez's name. And you and Leif, I don't know if Ethan does it. You go Jaime. So chat wants me to hold you guys accountable. I did my part, chat. I'm not here to legislate.
No, hold me accountable. I needed this.
I'm just
Jaime.
listen, Jaime. I'm just saying what I know. Leif says to Jaime.
It's really Alex's fault because if he's not holding me accountable, who is?
That's his job, dude. That's like his number one, and on his 5 Reasons business card, it says accountability holder. That's what it is.
Yeah, I hope I'm not picking up on that from Ethan because I know Ethan can't pronounce Bam's name. So
what does he say?
I don't know. He gets every name wrong. So I just don't want to pick that up.
Well, at least your camera's not smudged like Ethan's. I love you, Ethan.
Yeah, not yet.
Hope you're doing great, buddy. I love you. Big hug to you and the family. Ethan's my guy, man. And make sure to check out 5 Reasons, all the offerings, because they do honestly great stuff, and those are our friends. Let's talk about how Jaquez is really benefiting from this, and we can kind of go into other guys, but I think his playmaking has taken a step, Brady, this year. And we talked about this on the post game last night, where he's finding these passes off these cutters and off these relocations, and he's very patient and in control. And I think the movement has really helped him because the way they play offense, because they're attacking and this drive and kick, they get defenses in rotation, which is what they need, because I think most of their guys kind of need a little bit of chaos to be able to attack in those seams and those angles. And Jaquez has just been so good at making that cross-court pass. There was a play last night. I think he found Powell in the corner. He's doing that often. Larson had one. He had a drive to an insane 4 calves crash the paint, and he had this wraparound whip pass to the corner. But that element of their offense is really huge. And I got to be honest, Brady, I think last year the only player I would have trusted other than Jimmy to make that pass, ironically, was Duncan Robinson. And now they have a few guys that can do it. And that's been kind of like an under talked about part of Jaquez, is just how good his playmaking has been.
Yeah, it makes it tougher to double a guy like that when he can make that pass. I mean, that's one of the reasons. I mean, there was a couple of reasons, but one of the reasons why he had a down year last year and he couldn't find success in the paint was that every time he did his spin, I know everybody was dissecting about like which way he was spinning or different things. I just thought it was like when he got crowded, he just couldn't not only make the pass, but like it's one thing to make the read. Like you have to be able to kind of like know where the kick is, where you're being doubled from, where the rotation is. And he just wasn't up to speed, I think, at that point.
Their
and this year,
were bad, bro, too. That's the other thing. It's like they're cheating.
Yeah.
Every corner shooter, and whoever they got parked in the corner, unless it's Duncan,
Kyle Anderson on a kick out.
Dude in a foot in the paint. Jaime is spinning into someone's back. It's different now.
It's different now. I mean, you referenced that one play. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Like he got doubled. He kind of looked it off and just went overhead to the corner, and it was just nice skip pass. And that's the type of stuff he's been doing. I mean, I asked Spo about the other day about him going to him in end of regulation, where they went to him and he hit the bucket to send it to overtime. I know all the credit was to Wiggins on the eventual dunk, but the reason he said he put the ball in his hands was because of the passing, because he knew that if he was doubled, he would make the kick and he would make the right read to another play. Where in past years,
do you remember that? You visualize the play? Jaime does the spin move that we've talked about, except Norman Powell's in the corner. And the defender has their back to Jaquez because they can't let Powell get that open three, because it's not a tie, it's a win. And that's the mental game that Jaquez has taken, that he knows that defender has his back to me because that guy is a good shooter and I can do whatever the fuck I want now because I got room.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying.
They can't leave him, so they were going to leave somebody else. It's funny. If you could probably, Alex took a video of that play and you could probably hear me in the background because I was sitting there telling him as it was happening. I was like, I think they're going to help off Wiggins, and it's going to be a Wiggins 3. Like, that was what I was thinking on that play call, because I just figured they were going to help off from the weak side from somewhere else. Yeah. They let him go one-on-one, and he hit a really tough shot. I mean, that you could have said that. I mean, that easily could have been a miss. I mean, it wasn't an easy shot, but Jaime's just playing. Jaime, I'm sorry, is playing at such a high level. Yeah, see, accountability. But I think the playmaking is one. But look, there's another part of this too. His finishing was really bad last year. Like, it's not just the three. It wasn't falling. It was like he was getting downhill in transition. He was driving off pick and rolls. He was cuts. He couldn't finish around the rim, which I say more. I repeat this all the time because I'm such a believer in this. I think confidence in basketball is bigger than anything else, any skill set, anything else. Like, if you are a confident player, specifically for scorers, I mean, that's the obvious part of this. But like when you are in a rhythm, in a flow state, and you are confident, It's just a different version. And he had not a lick of confidence last year. It was shot.
59% at the rim last year, 74% at the rim this year.
It's ridiculous. The volume, it feels like there's more attention on this year than there was last year because there was still worry about some of these other guys like Tyler, and the scouting reports have shifted. I mean, Hawkins is on these scouting reports like at the top. He's right next to Powell on these scouting reports right now because he's such a big part of what they're doing, and he's still finding a way to finish. I mean, I would think if you told me that stat before the season, I would say, okay, he's dominating in transition, which he's been good at it, but it really hasn't been the majority of it. It's been half court. It's been half court creating, getting downhill, finding ways to do it, both hands. The other big part of this, which is just helping his points per game in general, is getting to the line. I mean, he's doing an incredible job at getting fouls called. I mean, he's developed I was talking about it the other day because Tyler was like on the sideline, like coaching him up on it, but the sweep through, like he's developed that sweep through almost where if a guy turns his body, he's going that opposite direction. He's going to try to find a way to get it in one. And then there's just, yeah, that too. I mean, just a little sweep or Harden, I guess, did a lot with kind of the jumper part of it, but he's doing it more on drive. So getting to the line for him, I think, is big, especially like if there is a game where maybe he doesn't have it going offensively, like seeing him get to the free throw line, maybe see a couple of drops, see the ball go through the basket a little bit, I think is important. So he's just a really complete player right now. He's just looking strong. It's just, I don't have a lot of confidence, to be honest, in the three ball like coming along at some point. Like the jumper, the jumper doesn't look great to me when I see it.
We need to, as a society, we need to stop making shooters too early in their careers. I feel like we're messing guys up. I think it's okay if you're not good at something. Focus on what they are good at, and if it becomes a real problem, like I don't think that Hawkins' lack of shooting is going to be a real problem on this team, but let him grow into it. He's not. I don't know. I think we've done this with Giannis and a bunch of other guys.
But you can work for a guy like Giannis. But I think when you first come to the league, you're not going to be that main guy. So it's like you're almost forced to be an off-ball shooter, and it's tough. That's why I feel like some of these guys like have rough starts to their careers because they're like, you're not a top two guy on this team. You're the sixth option. So you have to go make something happen off the baseline or knock down a couple corner threes. So, I mean, and look, he did his rookie season. I mean, I thought his shot was actually a little better in his rookie season. I didn't think it stood out to me as broken in his rookie year where he kind of was hitting them a little at a higher rate, but he was still finding ways to be impactful in that rookie season in the paint and on drives, different stuff. But now we're seeing it progress, as you said, to the playmaking, but also it's not just the off-ball baseline cuts that I think we're seeing with Pello right now. That's where he's kind of living right now, is those little slot cuts and baseline cuts where he's just kind of really thriving with his finishing down there. And he's another guy that gets to the line. But now Hawkins is just doing it off the dribble in isolation from the top of the key.
You say getting to the line, which they have improvement at guys getting to the line, but getting to the line is like one of the problems with the offense. So they just don't. So they're 24th this season in free throw attempts per 100 possessions, which is just bad. And then they're just 21st. Given they're first in the league in pace, they're just straight up 21st in free throw attempts, just like raw, non-adjusted pace. They're 21st. And I remember seeing that and being like, God damn, that's bad.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Bam and Tyler would be their top two guys in free throw attempts. I would expect.
Those guys aren't moving your needle. Like, those are not. No. Yeah, I mean, they're good, not elite free throw draws, right?
Definitely.
And I think that's kind of going to be the limiter of this offense. So I think the limiters are a couple things. I think the good about this offense this year has been a lot more at the rim. They're just way, way more at the rim. Last season, they were 22nd in finishing at the rim at 63% and 25th in attempts. It's dreadful. This season, they're 8th in finishing at the rim, 68%, and 14th most in attempts, which is just night and day. Lifeblood of this game is getting to the basket. They take 11 most mid-range jumpers, but they're also like pretty good at them, and that's fine. Like I think Hawkins is a guy that you see kind of gets in the lane, does that little turnaround. Wiggins has been really effective at it. I think the ones that they take are within the flow of their offense, and it's fine. But the free throw attempts is bad, and they're also like low-key dog shit transition team. They're 18th in transition offense. Last year, they were 10th in transition offense. I could not believe that. I had to refresh cleaning the glass like 7 times because I could not believe that they were 10th in transition last year. They're not a good transition offense team. And they're the 3rd best half-court offense in the league this year, which is something that they were 17th last year. So more at the rim. better finishing, better shooting, low 3-point attempts, low free throw rate, and poor transition offense. And that's kind of like the divide. So we've gone through the good, and we've gone through the bad. And I think that kind of leads you at 15th with room for improvement when you kind of get some of your cavalry back. Whereas why I think they can get to like 12th.
It's not crazy. I mean, I think, like I told you, I think there's a ceiling like to this team's offense. But like Tyler accounts for a bump himself. No matter what you think about it, his efficiency in scoring is going to give you some type of bump. To add on to what you were saying a second ago about the free throw thing, it's also funny because I honestly forgot to look this up. I wanted to look up this stat before. I feel like 50% of their free throw attempts come on jumpers. Like, dude, many of their.
I was thinking about that last night. I was shooting a lot.
They do, because Norm is so good at it. For one, I mean, he's so good at drawing a crowd.
He's such a drifter, bro.
I see it too. I mean, you can tell he's been around it. And look, I remember last year too. It was the same thing with Wiggins. I mean, he was getting fouled. Like, I think he was leading the league in like and 1 threes last season at some point. Like, he was getting fouled a ton of jumpers as well. That it feels like. I mean, I don't love that formula, like the way of getting to the line, because Tyler's probably gonna be the same thing. Like, he'll get fouled at a couple jumpers where he sweeps through at the free throw line and shoots a floater and gets fouled. Like, it feels like that's gonna be their way of doing it. But look, I mean, as we said before the season, we didn't think they'd be a good 3-point shooting team. I don't think anybody thought they'd be a high free throw shooting team coming in either. I mean, if you lose Jimmy and you're leaning into a more perimeter game, it's just not going to happen. You have to kind of adjust. Now, my biggest worry is here. There's steps to this too, because like we can't overly project and be like, well, things are going to look rougher. Because I see people saying this, like, well, this isn't going to work in the playoffs. Well, the whole thing before this season was like they can't get a high seed in the regular season because they don't play regular season basketball. And it's always like, well, if we get there, we could play at that level. Well, now it's the opposite. They've developed a regular season formula. They've figured out a regular season game plan that could put up points. They can figure things out. And now it's like, okay, well, are they going to be able to do this if they do get to that point in the season? Like, one thing at a time here. Can we figure out the offense? Like, there's developments here. This was supposed to be a bridge year anyway before the season. So like them kind of figuring out like a regular season game, which honestly, I know they didn't value it as much as for obvious reasons as the playoffs, because we've seen what's happened, but it helps when you have a guy that's at the top of your roster that has that type of upside to carry you at that point. But at some point you have to be able to score, and you have to be able to be a good, decent regular season team to put yourself in a decent position to contend or make a run or be competitive. So that's the baseline right now to me. It's like the free throw stuff would be the swing ability in a playoff series. Because, like, to be honest, like if there was a playoff game tomorrow and we were talking about the pros and cons, I would say I don't trust them to get to the line enough in a slowed down playoff game to probably compete with the team that's on the other side. But in the regular season, I think they can get away with having less free throw attempts. I mean, last night, the free throw disparity was insane. I mean, they were...
And I thought it was deserved, by the way. I saw fans not happy about it. I don't know how you feel. Personally, I was like, that's deserved, because I thought Cleveland absolutely... Miami was not looking at the rim. Mm-hmm. Cleveland was doing this thing where they were... So when Miami has the guy that's doing the cut from corner to corner on the baseline, Cleveland had that guy tagged up until he got to the paint. And then when he went to the other side, they just let him. They just go, you can have that three. I don't care. I'm staying in the paint, which is why Hawkins is now like finishing through trees and they're not getting anything at the rim. And I flagged that. I was like, because San Antonio did the same thing. And I thought, okay, that's a problem, right? Because that was another game that, they had a little run and then they were totally like shut out after they I think they took the lead and they scored like 3 more points or something crazy, something like that. And that's, to me, those are the things that I flagged that I'm like, okay, well, this is clearly, there are things that can get schemed. You can fix that by having better shooters cut, right? And so there's counter, but that was kind of like, I saw that and that's what I thought.
And there's also little things too, if you've noticed, like those little things are happening when Powell's not on the court. Like a lot of that is because if you don't have that primary outside shooter and they're running those lineups where it's Hawkins, Wiggins, and just some of your role guys, they're able to pack the paint. Like they'll let some of those guys live, as you said. But like if you see at the start of quarters, which is new for Miami because they haven't started quarters well, in the past. But like the even in the second half last night, they were really good out the gate in the second half as well. Like that starting group was really strong offensively. The Powell was carrying a big part of that, but that's also the element of the Tyler part of this, where teams aren't going to be able to do some of that stuff because they're going to stagger Powell and Tyler, where they're probably going to be on the floor at all times, right? I mean, there might be times where they can let Hawkes and some others do their thing in a certain lineup, but it's mostly going to be Tyler or Powell holding down a lineup where now you're not able to kind of do as much helping off that weak side if one of your shooters is over there. Yes, if what you're talking about, if it is Larson cutting down that baseline, they can still hold that extra second and let him go through and they can pack the paint. But I think there's more ways around it from what I've seen when they had a shooter or one of their elite scorers on the floor.
No, I agree. I just thought it, and Bam is in that corner a lot too, and that's why it wasn't. It's different because when Bam's in the corner too, that's a big that's not in the paint, or that's a big that's in the paint that is leaving a guy that's wide open. So there's certainly it was just interesting, and I fight it because it's happened twice, and it was two teams that have pretty dangerous defensive bigs.
Yeah.
And it was something interesting, and I think Tyler will be fine, and I do think I saw Zach Lowe said the other day, they should have tried to incorporate a little bit more pick and roll as the season goes on. At first I saw that and I go, I kind of scoffed at it. And after seeing teams find some counters, I do think it's good, especially late game. I think post-ups also are good, and I think this offense has been pretty good with them. I don't like when Wiggins does them very often, but like Nico, I like when Nico does it, and I don't know why they don't do it more. I know Jokic kind of suggested that as well, that like he's really good at it out of the post, and I agree. But they're gonna have kind of some solutions to things like that. And I certainly think Wiggins is a solution to things like that because he's been a steadying force for them, Brady.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about his season. The lineup data all suggests that they're better when he's off the floor. That's been pretty consistent. I actually think that that'll even out. I don't think he's like a negative player. I think he's been really solid for them. I do think he wants to do different things offensively than what they're doing that is good right now. But I think that variation, it gives their offense a little bit of texture that they don't have without it. So I kind of think he's a little bit indispensable, if that makes sense, because he contrasts them so well. And I don't really know what to make of his season because Zach Lowe said this is his best year ever. And I was like, I still was like, okay, hold on there, buddy. But I think he's in a very unique situation, and I don't know how to feel about it.
So a couple of things. Number one, I would say the lineup. I mean, I don't really read into too much lineup data, I guess, this early in the season, but I think a big part of that was because those bench lineups in Hawkes were so good. I mean, through 10 games.
And the starters were bad.
Yeah, like that kind of fed into a lot of those numbers kind of like not being in his direction. So that was number one. Number two, I would say coming into the season, if you were to tell me like, okay, like who wouldn't fit this new system, like the fast-paced system, I would probably have said Wiggins. Like that would probably have been the guy where I was like, okay, I don't know if this, because it feels like he is a guy that has fit some of the half-court offense where it's like slowed down, as you said, he, like them or not, like some of those mid-post touches where he kind of gets to the middle of the floor, gets to the push shot. Like I just think some of that stuff is okay for him, but I think he's kind of adjusted pretty quickly this season. Like the run-out stuff, you talk about the transition efficiency. I feel like some of their better transition runouts have been when Wiggins has been the receiving end of a pass where he's going up for the finish. Like he's just been strong in that area himself. The three-point shooting has been strong. The clutch numbers are insane to me. I was mentioning before this past game where he had 18 points in the clutch, 5 of 7 shooting, and I think it was 4 or 5 from 3, which is just insane because it's like it's not even like him just shooting shots like with 5 minutes left in a close game. Every one of those were like swing shots down the stretch that was like he's just been the steady piece of a lot of this. So, and I guess moving forward, this is what I was thinking about the other day when you were just talking about that. It's like Wiggins is almost, when you think about role, he's almost going to be where Larson is right now in some of the offense. And what I mean by that is like if you have Tyler, Powell, and Bam on the floor and Wiggins is your fourth option, he could somewhat be that 3-and-D corner guy that he's somewhat been already. You're not going to help off like very far. Like you might dip off slightly if he's on the strong side and you're going to help a little bit. Weak side, you're not going to totally help off Andrew Wiggins unless there's a not great playmaker on the ball. He's also somebody that's been very good at crashing, cutting, getting around offensive rebounds, that type of energy offensively that I think, honestly, coming into the season, he was supposed to be, the fourth or fifth option on this team's offense, and he had to jump up to 2 or 3 in this stretch. I think he's going to thrive even more when he kind of bumps down. I think it'll honestly help his overall scoring and effectiveness when he doesn't have to have that overall attention. I thought it was interesting too because they didn't put a lot of pressure on him, right? Like I was thinking when Tyler was out, it's like, oh, well, Wiggins going to have a lot of duties. He's going to have to run a ton of pick and rolls. He's going to be on the ball a ton. Like this is going to be like kind of the rougher part. But they didn't do it. Like they rarely have done it. Like he's been so off the ball for them and he's been good in that role. Like he's found other ways to impact. So he's almost like supercharged Pelle Larsson in some of those late game lineups. That's kind of what I imagine for him. But I also think, I know we're talking about the offense, but I think he's been one of their better defenders for the start of the season. I think he's just been so useful in like guarding point guards in certain lineups and then guarding, he spent some time at the 5 this past week. So like guarding all over the floor, I just feel like he's been strong in that area, rebounding. He's just been a really complete all-around player.
They moved him away from the nail, and I think they tried to use him more like a traditional wing, and I didn't think that was working for them because I don't think he has that physicality that they're used to from James Johnson, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, Andre Iguodala, right? And
he's just such a good contester. Like I like when he's guarding on the ball, and so if somebody's going to take a tough jumper and he's the one guarding him, like I like Andrew Wiggins' odds on that jumper.
They're using him a little bit like they used Derrick Jones on defense, where
that's
kind of really use his length on quicker guys to contain and stuff like that, and not be physical. Because and again, that took a little bit of adjustment by the coaching staff too. Not to get too much into defense, but that's certainly Brady. You are absolutely correct. He's been one of their better defenders. Let's touch on Bam really quick because we haven't talked a ton about him. And one of the things I noted on our show notes was shooting numbers are up, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for him as an individual offensively, because I think when I think of Bam at his best, I think of him as a playmaker and as a roller. I wanted him to grow into Brady. I've always wanted him to be Amari Stoudemire in that he can face up in that mid-post area, take a strong dribble, go to the basket. That's kind of like what I envisioned the best version of him being. He's not that, and that's okay. He's great at other things, particularly on the defensive end. But offensively, I think his best version is playmaking off the short roll, playmaking out of the elbow, just passing, that kind of creativity. But that's not really what he's doing in this offense. He's doing a lot of things, not many of those. And he's shooting more, which I think is good, like for the team. But is that good for him? And I was wondering how you feel about that. And you're around the team. Like, what's he's a ultimate professional. He's team captain. What's the vibe with them with that? And what do you think of that?
Well, I'll start with that. I think he likes it like a ton. I don't think he liked last year where it's like live or die with him having to create late in the clock with a tough mid-range fadeaway in the middle of the floor, like what you're talking about, like that short face up where he has to kind of move you with the jab, and if not, like he's kind of having to take a tough, back shoulder turnaround. Where now he's a little bit more freed up. And now from my perspective, do I love him just sitting out at the 3-point line for possession after possession and taking the occasion, like constant threes? I mean, I think he's a good enough shooter right now with the way he was playing beginning of season 2, take them for sure. But I don't want that to be at the expense of his downhill game, because that's what he is. He's just such a force in that area.
They don't screen for him. So, you know what I mean? Like the idea of like him, the dive is like not as prevalent. The vertical dive, right, is not as prevalent, which I think is kind of like the tough situation he's in.
They're not going to screen for him because they're not screening for anybody. So it's a situation where he's the guy that gets, and in theory, it could be in certain matchups like an advantage where it's like you're being guarded by this big if they're not starting Khalil. Like you're being guarded by, if he's at the 5 in those minutes, you're being guarded by this big. You should be able to attack off the dribble and get downhill. And a lot of times, if it's a slower big, they're going to send extremely early help. Like that's what they were doing at the beginning of the year. And that was leading to the drive and kick game. And then it's a swing and it's a wing 3. So it's like that part of it. Now, when Ware was on the floor, which started to happen toward right before he got injured, is more of you're going to get cut off there. So it's like he's more of the backside cutter a little bit more often than the original ball handler. So it's kind of like switching on and off, which I think it can work. And look, he still got to the mid-range game, because what teams are doing too a little bit is they're going zone against it, like because that's the easiest way to kind of pile in a little bit, force you to shoot. And then Bam in that stretch became the guy that flashes middle, where he was just, okay, he can catch here. And then that's another way, because it's an odd isolation, but it's a way to isolate, get him in the middle of the floor, see how they react. and he was shooting them at a decent rate to begin the season. So I don't know how I feel about it moving forward. I think Tyler coming back will probably help it a little bit. I think it'll make it a little bit easier. Like I keep saying, I just think no matter what anybody says, if you have Norman Powell and Tyler Hero on the floor, it just makes things easier for everybody. Now, what this is an offensive episode, so that let's say that as well. But offensively, it does. I mean, if you have those guys on the floor that teams are not going to take a hand off of when they're off the ball, it gives you so much space. And we keep talking about isolation, driving, kick. The whole other reason for this offense was correcting the spacing because the spacing was so bad last year. As much as those offensive numbers show that, I just wasn't a fan of their overall spacing. I felt like they were tripping up over each other. And then a year before that, I remember we were talking how often they were tripping up over each other in transition, where it just felt like everybody was just going to the same area in every fast break and they couldn't space out at all. They've corrected the spacing, and that helps Bam in itself. So if they give him a little bit more room to operate, I'm confident that he can figure it out.
Quick thing to your point about Bam and Khalil. In 48 minutes together, they have a net rating of -26, an offensive rating of 109, and a defensive rating of 135.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It is bad. It is bad. Bam without Ware, +20 in almost 200 minutes.
Yeah.
+20 net rating, 123 offensive rating, 102 defensive rating. And by the way, Ware without Bam, in about 230 minutes, a modest -1 net rating. So, we'll do with that what you will. Shout out to Armando Benitez, says this is the best business decision you've ever done, G. Having this young GOAT, Brady Hawk, on your pod. Brady, do you know who our guest was yesterday on the show?
No.
Jeffrey Epstein. My hair doctor is named Jeffrey Epstein. Because I'm thinning.
So I got the follow up. I got the follow up to him, huh?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're following up. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein killed last night. He was Jeffrey Epstein's a ball knower. Made a couple sixer jokes. He diagnosed bad NBA hair on the show. He told us what's wrong with LeBron. Told us what's wrong with Manu Ginobili. When he saw Kevin Durant's double bullet spot, he said, "Frankly, I've never seen that before." That's Jeffrey Epstein killed.
Wow, that's a tough follow-up.
It's a tough follow, but you've done absolutely fantastic. Brady, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time. I thought this was an important topic. This has been really the biggest thing about them this season. Actually, before you go, where do you think their offense kind of tops out? Because we've talked about the good and the bad. Just a quick thing, like what do you think seasons end? Where do you think their offense kind of ranks?
It's tough because before the season, I have to go back because we did an episode like this, and I think I said I thought they were going to be top 20, which was a hot take at that point. I mean,
I remember that.
So now seeing what it is, I honestly think they're going to sit exactly where they are. I mean, maybe that's a cop-out, but I don't think Tyler coming back is going to jump it up to top 10, but I also think it's not going to drop from that point. And it fluctuates as the season goes with injuries and everything. I understand that, but I think they are around a 14th to 15th ranked offense, which I don't think they're looking at offensive rating anymore. It's funny because the advanced statistics usually tell you more of the story. I think they're at a point where it's more about the points per game.
Dude, they just sounds crazy, bro.
You have to score at this point in the regular season. You just have to. So putting up points gets the confidence up.
It also the energy has arena. The energy has arena. The arena has energy.
Yeah.
Because of the scoring and
sure.
I think that the fan base needed that. I mean, I've been to those games last season, and you've been to many more. That crowd was not always into it, and cannot blame them. It was tough. I actually think they'll finish around 13th. I do think that Powell's not going to shoot 46% from 3 all season. I think that certainly will come to earth a little bit. If he did shoot 46 from 3, congratulations on your all-star appearance, Norman Powell.
Hey, that's what they said about Davion last year. So if he could do it, why can't Norman?
Dude, I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm so sorry. I said on the show the other day, I asked a question. I said, did Miami stumble into a Jalen Brunson situation with Norman Powell where they get a high-producing role player and give him a bigger role, and he becomes much better than even they thought to become this genuinely really good star-level offensive player? I don't know if that's going to be the case. It might not be to Jalen's level. And I know that Norm was kind of on the bubble last year in the West for All-Star, but I think certainly he's taken another step. His efficiency has improved with the expanded role. So I asked the question, like, did they stumble into a Jalen Brunson situation with Norman Powell?
I would say so. I mean, I did when they made the trade. It was like why wouldn't we? Of course, we're going to bring in this for nothing. We're going to bring in Norman Powell and see what happens. So I think they were just open to whatever was going to happen, but I don't think they had these expectations. I think they thought he'd be a good scorer, and especially because they couldn't have predicted that Tyler would be out. He would have to be the number one option, and he would carry them to this point, to being in a 7-5 record and being this good in offense. So that part of it, yeah. And I also think they're in a situation where their thoughts on giving him an extension are much different than they were prior to camp. Like that feels like that we're like getting much closer and closer.
We're putting the cart before the horse, but yeah, I mean that's a January conversation
for sure. But that's where we're heading right now. Like that's how good he's playing. Where you're thinking beyond the season because this guy has been so good. I was saying like he's changed the vibes. I mean they as much as we, not to hone in on that situation, but like post Jimmy era, they needed somebody to come in and change up the vibes, because if it's the same group, like the group that was post trade deadline, that got stale to me. And that was in a short stint. And yes, they had the fun playing game that got them before they got swept. The vibes were not there with that unit. They needed somebody to change it up. And Powell has done that at another level. Like I think he's kind of, this kind of like that itself is pretty crazy, but like, yeah, he's been an energy shifter for this team, and he's been doing it on the court as well.
Dude, I appreciate you again making the time for us. Make sure to check out Brady Hawk and all the offerings over at 5 Reasons Sports. Check out 5 on the Floor, the second best Heat podcast, tied with Locked On Heat. Obviously, our friends are Locked On. Shout out to Wes. Shout out to Ramil. Shout out to Ethan, Brady, Leif, the whole Heat content community. Brady, again, appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work this season. I've never seen fans embrace somebody as fast as you during your meteoric rise to local celebrity, as somebody said at the start of the chat. Like, local celebrity, Brady Hawk. So congratulations on all your personal success and your team success over at 5 Reasons, and hope to have you on soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, chat. We will be on tomorrow for Heat Knicks. Jalen Brunson will not play. So hopefully, we get a nice shit talking win and rock with us on a Friday. And we'll see you tomorrow.